Good morning. Thank you once again for joining us. I'm sorry we're a little bit late. I guess it kicked in before I knew it. All right, so welcome. I'm here. My name is Muna Chimsaga, and I'm here in Houston, Texas, and I have my sisters with me who I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Sisters, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Sorry we're starting late, but thank you for joining us. My name is Augusta Nasike, and I live in Richmond, Texas. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ekutas Simon Okube. Thank you for joining us. Before we go ahead, we want to give a little short intro. As Africans, we cannot afford to continue to think only about surviving. We must begin to make commitment towards thriving. We should begin to take bold steps in order to position our children for the future. You see, our goal must be to end this current slavery and injustice against us and our children, to reach the potential you and I were created for. We as a people must demand accountability from all our leaders at all levels and around all we do and plan to do, and transparency on how we measure our progress and achievements. We must begin that journey from mediocrity into meritocracy, from lies and deception to truth and reality, and from emotional outbursts to critical thinking. If you agree with this, please come along, let's discuss. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister April. Absolutely. So our topic today is it can only take referendum to recommit. It can only take referendum to recommit. So I'm going to start off with a short bit of introduction. As we know that the country we call Nigeria was negotiated for independence at 1967. We all know that it's dead now. The question then is, how are we to bury this dead Nigeria? Are we going to bury Nigeria in peace or in pieces? So in today's episode, we shall examine the detailed persuasion of the LNC and its MNN alliance partners regarding the nature of the fundamental reconfiguration and reconstruction required to address the sovereignty questions arising from the constitutional grievances of the constituent bloc of Nigeria, which we know have been expressed by different regional agitations, ranging from separatist movement to demands for structural changes, loosely called restructuring by some people. So we are going to look at this information to see how we can confront the distressed federation called Nigeria. So to start off, I am going to play a little video. We have seen this video. We have seen this video before, so I am going to play that for us just to refresh our memory as to some of the movements that people have started in terms of disengaging from this distressed federation. Okay, give me a moment. I am trying to pull it up.
It's very clear. We made a declaration saying that it's...
Wait a minute, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, there you go. So I'm gonna try to share it on the video so that everybody can see.
It's very clear. We made a declaration saying that it's too late for restructuring in Nigeria. You will remember in 1962, there was a massive problem in Nigeria when Awolowo was arrested. Our people talked to us. There was crisis for over 4 years that led to the coup. There was a Yoruba meeting of elders called the Yoruba Leaders of Thought. We relented. The thing continued. Yoruba has continued to lose ground since that time. In 1993, there was the annulment of the June 12 election. Shiju Ade, the former army, spoke and said Yoruba should go ahead and conduct an election. We did. It led to nothing. The same thing happened in 1998, just before the handover to the democratic elected government. Yoruba did not want to go. for anything like Nigeria again. But then it failed. Look at where we are. Yoruba has been losing ground since 1914, and we are just tired. We are there for restructuring. It's too late for restructuring in Nigeria. It's too late for sovereign national conference. It's too late for resource control. What we want now is Oduduwa Republic. And we are very categorical about that. We have made that very clear. We have made declarations, and we are very serious about our demands. Every region just go to its own tent. Yoruba wants to be on its own because the problem that Yoruba has is Nigeria. Nigeria is the problem, is the impediment to Yoruba development. Is the impediment to Yoruba development. Without Nigeria, we won't be where we are. 1960, we were far ahead of South Korea and North Korea. We were far ahead of China even. We had television before France. We had radio before South Africa. Now look at where we are today. I think it's a shame that even any Yoruba man can be talking about restructuring at this point in time. What are we restructuring? This country that is already shot to pieces? I don't think that's what we want. But they are always talking about giving Nigeria a chance. The patience of Yoruba with Nigeria has come to an end.
All right, thank you. So that's the video. Like I said, we've shared this video before, so I'm gonna have Sister Augusta to continue.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sister Mona. Of course, we've shared the video before, and everybody can go online and check it out. So the reading that we have today is the open letter, the open memorandum to President Muhammadu Buhari on restructuring. And this happened on the November 16, 2018. And this memorandum, I'm going to, address it as this particular memorandum can also be addressed to the Nigerian National Assembly. It can be addressed to the Northern Elders Forum, to the Nigerian rogue political class, to the rogue freedom fighting franchises, to the proponent of war, chaos, and anarchy. So I'm going to read. At an interactive session held with Nigeria's resident in France, November 12, 2016, on the sidelines of the World Peace Forum in Paris, Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari was reported by the media as saying the following: there are too many people talking lazily about restructuring in Nigeria. Unfortunately, people are not asking them individually what do they mean by restructuring. What form do they want restructuring to take? Do they want us to have something like the 3 regions we used to have? And now we have 36 states and the FTC. What form do they want? They are just talking loosely about restructuring. Let them define it, and then we see how we can peacefully do it in the interest of Nigerians. They are just saying that they want Nigeria restructured, and they don't have the clue of what the form the restructuring should be. So anybody who asks you about restructuring in Nigeria, ask him what he means and what form he wants it to take. This is Buhari, replying the press. So putting aside the unfortunate condescending haughtiness of describing the protagonist of restructuring as lazy and clueless, and for the purpose of clarity, the elaborate queries embedded in these comments credited to Mr. President will be summarized into 2 broad questions. Question 1, what exactly constitutes a restructured Nigeria? Question 2, how precisely should the restructuring exercise be undertaken? Now, let us note that question 1 relates mainly to the contents of restructuring in terms of what should emerge as the structure of Nigeria after the restructuring exercise, while question 2 relates mainly to the procedural processes by which the restructuring exercise could be successfully prosecuted. Before engaging the 2 broad questions, a few preliminary remarks would be necessary to establish the baselines for this intervention with a view to dissecting and bringing clarity and perspective to the entire restructuring discourse in a manner that is capable of advancing the difficult dialogue to the threshold of actionable common ground. 1, let it be recalled that after many years of government's prevarication on the subject of appropriate reconstitutional arrangements for Nigeria, a critical mass of thought leaders who had a thorough grasp of what the real issues of the sick Nigerian state are and what potent remediation options are available for its cure, came together from across the ethnic and geopolitical divides in Nigeria, including some of your contemporaries in the Nigerian military, and took upon themselves the daunting task of mobilizing the peoples of Nigeria towards a consensus that would generate more workable and more acceptable constitutional arrangement for Nigeria in place of the unworkable unitary constitutional order that was unilaterally foisted by military fiat between 1966 and 1999 on a Nigeria that was designed to be a federation. Number two, the said mobilization effort led to the convocation of the People's Sovereign Conference of the Ethnic Nationalities of Nigeria by the Enahoro-led Pro-National Conference Organizations, PRONACO, 2005 to 2006, which successfully brought together delegations from the various ethnic nationalities across Nigeria, civil society, and the leaderships of the various regional self-determination agitations of that period. Some armed, including the Odua People's Congress, OPC, as led by Gani Adams, the Movement for the Actualization of the Sovereign State of Biafra, MASOB, as led by Raf Wazurike, the Niger Delta People's Volunteers Force, NDPVF, as led by Dokubo Asari, amongst others. That conference, after almost 2 years of exhaustive deliberations in an unfettered atmosphere, successfully produced the draft People's Constitution in August of 2006, anchored on the regional draft of the various regional delegations within the self-determination rights of nationalities, being the constituent components of the distressed Nigeria Federation. The processes that produced the said draft constitution had and still have the potential to peacefully guide Nigeria's return to its federal basis, as the federal government of that time engaged with the processes. And that would be former President Obasanjo had actually declared that we were committing treason for convening a sovereign conference of the peoples of Nigeria. Number three, having been a part of the wider spectrum of leading political actors from northern Nigeria involved by way of consultations in the PRONACO processes, Mr. President would record that I had in a meeting at Ikeja, when I say I had, it means Mazi Choli, because it's the one that wrote this, in a meeting at Ikeja between himself and Chief Enahoro, handed to Mr. President the hard copy edition of the aforementioned draft People's Constitution in February of 2007, when you came to intimate the arrowheads of PRONACO of your bid for the presidency of Nigeria in the 2007 electoral round. If there be any need for reminders on the events of 2006 to 2005 to 2006, as outlined herein, Mr. President, I have no doubt that your current APC compatriots, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then the governor of Lagos State, Babatunde Fashola, then the chief of staff to Governor Tinubu, and Yemi Oshibanjo, then Attorney General of Lagos State, will readily be available to refresh your memory. Number four, let it also be recorded that post-PRONACO, the arrowheads of PRONACO, including Chief Enahoro, Anthony Enahoro, and Professor Wole Soyinka, and Dean Chukwuemeka Odumegwu, amongst other plaintiffs, had under the aegis of the implementation phase called the Movement for New Nigeria, MNN, and in furtherance of the PRONACO consensus, instituted suits between 2007 and 2009 at both the Lagos and Abuja divisions of the Federal High Court, challenging the legitimacy of the 1999 Constitution on the grounds of fraud and forgery, seeking the termination of its operations and the immediate initiation of a transitioning that would distill the successor constitutional arrangements, just as South Africa had to do to ease itself out of the obnoxious apartheid constitution. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Challenging the 1999 Constitution and transitioning the would-be the successor of the constitutional arrangement, just as South Africa did. Number four, further implementation steps followed in 2011 when by eminent Lagos Declaration of the June 30, 2011, the Eminent Alliance Partner Organization jointly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of Nigeria and mandated the said regional partner organizations to help galvanize the various peoples of Nigeria into regional constitution-making processes ahead of the inevitable constitutional reconfiguration of Nigeria, which is called restructuring. Those regional processes have since advanced the constitution-making task and have between 2015 and 2018 yielded formal regional proclamations across the southern and middle belt territories of Nigeria, repudiating on behalf of the peoples of each regional blocks the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria, and respectively declaring their desires to explore other available options for the future of their various peoples.
Where are you? Like I'm sharing the screen. Where are you? Are you?
I'm in number 5. That's the last part.
Number 5. Okay.
Yes. Okay, hold on one moment, please. Okay. So let me start from that number 5. Number 5, yeah. Further implementation steps followed in 2011 when by the eminent Lagos Declaration of June 12, 2011, the Eminent Alliance Partners Organization jointly repudiated the 1999 Constitution as the basis of Nigeria and mandated the said regional partner organization to help galvanize the various peoples of Nigeria into regional constitution-making processes ahead of the inevitable constitutional reconfiguration of Nigeria, which is called restructuring. Those regional processes have since advanced the constitution-making task and have between 2015 and 2018 yielded formal regional proclamations across the southern and middle belt territories of Nigeria, repudiating on behalf of the peoples of each regional bloc the 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria, and respectively declaring their desires to explore other available options for the future of their various peoples within the context of their universal right to self-determination. Since Nigeria had for over 50 years, that's from Aburi of 1967, refused to address the self-determination questions arising from the grave constitutional grievances of the constitutional components. So the review of recent and ongoing actions and exchanges amongst the people of Nigeria on the subject of restructuring is to assure Mr. President that there is a body of knowledge and know-how which the distressed Federation of Nigeria can immediately leverage to salvage itself from the free fall and debilitation it now finds itself in as a viable political union. And the contrary to Mr. President's charge that the proponents of restructuring are lazy and clueless, it is the federal government of Nigeria that has been mystifying and obfuscating the straightforward subject of returning Nigeria to its federal basis and presenting itself as frightened and confused every time the word restructuring is mentioned, with many attempts by federal government to circle the requisite processes by way of the unitary style national conferences in 1994, 2005, and 2014. So, Sister Mona, Sister Ekwe, you guys go ahead and explain briefly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Sister Augusta. Should I go ahead, Sister Mona? Hello?
Yes,
okay.
Go ahead.
So, my people, you can see, from what our Sister Augusta has read for us, you can see several attempts that the people have been making, the peoples, of Nigeria have been making, and are still making. We have a PRONACO, which is the Pro National Conference Organization, 2005, 2006, where 164 ethnic delegates came together, 164 came together to talk about this, and they've been making efforts since then. Then you have the MNN Lagos Declaration of June 30th, 2011, where the people gathered again, rejecting this apartheid 1999 constitution as the basis for Nigerian union. You have also the regional processes at constitutional making task that have advanced from 2015 to 2018, where all of them made proclamation at various regional solemn assemblies. You also have the Freedom Park Proclamation at Lagos, December 2018. So things have been going on. The peoples of Nigeria have been working hard, and that's what this section just read, all the things that have been done to date, trying to fix the sick Nigeria. And at this point, we're saying Nigeria is dead. Nigeria died. We're talking about burial now. Please go ahead, Augusta.
Okay, yes, as Sister Eku rightly said, Nigeria is dead and is awaiting burial. Anyway, let's continue. Here is a further historical background for the answers we are providing to questions 1 and 2 as crafted. A federation is a union of constitutions, and Nigeria became one country at independence in 1960, when the 3 regions of the time, Northern, Eastern, and Western regions, which already had their own constitutions made up between 1957 and 1959, they met, negotiated, and agreed to federate themselves into one political union at the Lancaster House Conferences of 1959. The crux of that arrangement and the federation model it produced was the high degree of autonomy it guaranteed for the federating unions, in which each region owned and controlled its assets, contributing an agreed percentage of its income, about 15%, for the upkeep of the center, which is the federal government, to finance the limited functions jointly delegated to the center by the regions, meaning that the center was a creation of the regions to service specified collective needs. It will be recalled that when in 1953, Anthony Enahoro moved the first motion for independence, the Northern delegates opposed, blocked, and defeated the motion on the ground that they are not ready, that the Northern region was not yet ready for independence. It will also be recalled that following the collapse of the said independent motion of 1953, the 8-point demand raised by the then Premier of Northern Region, Samadu Bello, as conditions for the Northern region to join the other 2 regions as one country into independence had to do with the decree of regional autonomy, which the North wanted. And this took between 1953 and 1959 to emplace and eventually defined autonomy level adopted in what became the Independence Constitution of 1960. The coups of January 15, 1966, and the counter coup of July 29, 1966, which brought the military to the arena of political power, resulted in the toppling and jettisoning of the 5 constitutions that define the Federation of Nigeria, 4 regional and 1 federal, and the imposition of the unitary constitution instruments by military decrees, of which by May 27, 1967, broke up the erstwhile 4 regions into 12 states and swept away the autonomy of the regions, whilst hijacking and confiscating the assets and rights of the regions. Most governmental powers and responsibilities of the regions were forcefully taken over by the federal government in this period. From that point in May 1967, Nigeria ceased to be a federation. It became and has remained a unitary state to date, fractured into 36 largely impotent states that grovel at the feet of an omnipotent but grossly inefficient federal government, holding to itself 68 items on the federal exclusive legislative list as encapsulated by the imposed 1999 Constitution, which is a wholesale carryover of the equally imposed 1979 Constitution, despite the boogie called the 1977 Constituent Assembly. Since the 17th Amendment introduced by Obasanjo's Supreme Military Council in September 1978 overrode the clean draft of the Constituent Assembly of 1977. and that is what has brought Nigeria to the sorry pass it currently is in, becoming the leading global example and case study of a failed state, and also emerging the poverty capital of the world despite its huge endowments in human and material resources. Mr. President, the failures of Nigeria, characterized by gross insecurity, pervasive corruption, and infrastructural decay, are the direct consequences of the aforementioned distortions of Nigeria's federal constitutional arrangement since 1966, now fueling the trenchard demands for restructuring and outright exit from what has become a union of attrition for the vast majority of frustrated citizens and the peoples of the constituent components of Nigeria, who now feel entrapped in an unworkable imposed union and framed by a constitution, the authorship of which is falsely credited to them in the preamble text, which pretends that we, the people, enacted our own damnation. It is therefore self-evident, Mr. President, that the countrywide demands for restructuring are quite simply demands for the returning of Nigeria to its federal foundations, as there can be no viable mechanism for sustainably keeping such a diversity of peoples, cultures, and civilization as Nigeria presents in one cohesive country, otherwise than as a federation. All honest stakeholders ought by now to have reached this inescapable conclusion, especially by soberly looking back at the tragedies of unitary Nigeria since 1966. Let us also point out that the legislative mandate of the National Assembly does not include the constituent powers required to make or remake the constitution arrangement of the Federation. As such, constituent powers are the exclusive preserve of the federated constituent components flowing from their sovereignty, currently suppressed by the sovereignty Nigeria that has since in 1966. Any lawyer who tells you otherwise, Mr. President, is either ignorant or dishonest, whether he be a senior advocate or a professor of law. Having outlined these backgrounds, we now proceed to providing specific answers to question 1 and question 2. Question 1, what exactly constitutes a restructured Nigeria? Shorn of all embellishments, a restructured Nigeria in terms of content and outcome is that structure of Nigeria that would emerge. A, when the subnationalities, being the constituent components, each federating bloc, decide the geographical formation in which they would be relating, that means federating with the rest of the union, having first agreed internally on what would best guarantee internal cohesion in their bloc within the context of the universal right of each subnationality to self-determination. B, when the federating blocs decide what items of government or responsibility or governmental responsibility or rights they would cede to the federal government, what they keep exclusive to themselves, and what they may currently undertake with the federal government with all residual powers, e.g., anything not listed under any of the aforementioned categories preserved for the federating units. Referendums and plebiscites are to be deployed as ratification mechanisms as appropriate at each stage in keeping with and in a manner consistent with the imperatives of self-determination for each sub-nationality. The number of federating units will also have to be a function of the consultations agreement of the subnationalities in stage 1 of the two-stage processes outlined in question 2 below, and not by the kind of whimsical dictates that brought Nigeria to the current 36 states quagmire. Number 2, how precisely should the restructuring be undertaken? Guided by the fact that a federation is union of constitutions, and looking back at what truncated the basis of Nigerian federation, the logic of the situation dictates a two-stage process undertaken in a certain sequence. Stage 1 would be to instill the regional constitutions of the proposed federating units as outlined under question 1 that would federate in the second stage as it was done by the 3 regions between 1957 and 1959, ahead of the Lancaster House Conference of 1959. Stage 2 would be for the proposed federated units already armed with their respective regional constitutions as distilled from Stage 1 to meet, negotiate, and agree on the terms of federating themselves into one political union, as was done in the Lancaster House Conference. Referendums and ratifications are to be deployed as ratification mechanisms as appropriate at each stage, in keeping with and in a manner consistent with the imperatives of self-determination for each of the sub-nationalities. May we point out, Mr. President, that it was the failure of all the governments of Nigeria since 1970 to abide by this simple logic of a federation that is responsible for the failure of all attempts to rework the constitutional arrangement of Nigeria, starting with the Constituent Assembly of 1977 to all the national conferences of 1994, 2005, and 2014. And so anything short of this two-stage process is bound to fail yet again, no matter how well-intentioned the conveners may be. Now that we know in broad outlines what restructuring means, Mr. President may be asking, how do we begin from where we are now, especially with the 2019 elections so near? The best guide on how to proceed from where Nigeria is right now is to look at how South Africa eased itself out of the quagmire of the apartheid constitutional order between 1990 and 1994 under the courageous leadership of President Frederick W. de Klerk. And when the apartheid era South Africa arrived at the very situation Nigeria has now arrived at under the imposed master servant 1999 constitution that has been repudiated and rejected countrywide, but to which a tiny band of political merchants across Nigeria owe tenaciously for skewed humongous personal and group benefits, even as the people, the country, and the society sink deeper into misery, decay, and retention. The government of South Africa saved and began the healing of their dying country by telling itself the truth in 1990, namely that the apartheid constitutional order could not carry the South Africa society any further, and therefore it announced a definitive plan to terminate the operations of the apartheid constitution and immediately set in motion the transitioning process called CODESA, which midwifed the processes that birthed the wholesale replacement of the repudiated apartheid constitution. Nigeria is in that station at this time that required this turnkey constitutional re-engineering, reconfiguration, and reconstruction, which has acquired the street name of restructuring. Mr. President, Nigeria is very sick, and we present this memorandum to you, to consigned statement. We have taken the trouble to fully diagnose, to fully diagnose and locate the most potent prescription for that ailment, and now invite your government and other stakeholders to commence the emergent treatment to the life-threatening ailment of Nigeria over and above the ineffective palliatives that partisan politicians had offered the dying union for over 50 years, now including elections that only throw up new drivers to steer the vehicle with a knocked engine, which unitary Nigeria has been since the 1966 collapse of its federal foundations. Whether we admit it or not, Nigeria is now a thoroughly disputed project site, and further construction is not only a monumental waste, but makes a peaceful resolution much more difficult and much more costly. We were encouraged to raise this memorandum to you by the path of your comments in Paris, in which you stated concerning the restructuring demand, let them define it, and then we see how you can peacefully do it in the interest of Nigerians. This is a much better tone and language than the previous dismissive and unnecessarily combative disposition of Mr. President to the demand for restructuring. We have defined it. The ball is now in the court of Mr. President as custodians of the body of knowledge and know-how required to undertake this inevitable reconfiguration and reconstruction of the damaged constitutional foundations of Nigeria, and will stand by to offer our guidance to the process. With every sense of responsibility, and as already been campaigned by the LNC and its eminent alliance partners, it is our conviction that the situation calls for a public acknowledgement by you that the 1999 Constitution is the source of the misery of Nigeria and Nigerians, and that this acknowledgement should be accompanied by a formal acknowledgement deferring the 2019 elections, and as well as the immediate initiation of a timeline transitioning process with the balance of your tenure along the paradigms outlined in this memorandum. In place of further national elections of 2019 under the repudiated 1999 Constitution, which can only worsen the situation of Nigeria, as was the case in 1964-65 elections that landed Nigeria in the catastrophes of 1966 to 1970. For more illumination on restructuring from self-determination perspective, you may wish to view the YouTube titled Nigeria at the Valley of Decision. May God grant you the wisdom and courage required to steer the troubled ship of Nigeria state in the present turbulent waters. And this is written on behalf of the Lower Niger Congress and its eminent alliance partners by Mr. Tony Nadi, Secretary General of LNC, November 16, 2018.